It's really such an honor to me that people trust me with that, and I take it very seriously, and I think that that comes through on my social media, which is why, we average about 10,000 requests a week for me to do design work.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Forbes Top Creator Show. I'm Forbes editor Stephen Bertoni. Here, we're discussing the creator economy, entrepreneurship, how these amazing creators who are really entrepreneurs build their empires, work with brands, and keep on evolving. Speaking of evolving today, we have Galey Alix.
Hi.
Galey, thanks for joining us. She was a former Goldman Sachs banker, DIY star, TV star. Now she's building her own brand. Galey, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
This is amazing to be here. This is amazing to have you here. You have such an incredible resume. What are you working on now? Because I know you keep on changing and evolving and always just stepping up.
I'm working on finding a way to get my brand into everybody's house, right? I built it on social media, and now I'm trying to build it in the real world because I can't really get into everybody's house and surprise them with a home makeover. But if I have products, then I get that access.
I love it. Now, how are you going to get into everyone's house?
So I learned early on in my days at Goldman that you can turn anything into anything if you're good at storytelling. The art of storytelling, I think, is one of the most important lessons you can learn as you're building, through the education system, figuring out how to story tell, which I call story selling.
Okay.
Right? So think of it this way. If you can figure out how to take complexities of anything. So when I was at Goldman, for example, we'll revisit those days for a second.
Yes.
I took the complexities of the market and I whittled it down into digestible, relatable stories so that people felt like they could understand it, and then it made investing less scary, and then they were more likely to buy my product, right? And I closed over $5 billion simply through story selling. So I learned early on that that is the way to build your brand. And I'll give you just a quick example of how I did that at Goldman. So remember when Tesla came out, right?
Oh, yes.
It was the hot stock, and nobody knew what it was valued at.
I wish I bought back then.
Well, I think you should have bought something different, but we'll get into that.
Okay, cool.
So what ended up happening is it was a hot trade. Everyone's talking about it, but nobody knew what it was going to be valued at, right? So it was a little bit like the Wild Wild West, literally out west. And I wanted people to be buying the companies that manufactured lithium as opposed to Tesla stock itself. And I knew that that wasn't what everyone was talking about. And so I needed to find a way to story sell them into getting to that trade, right? So I would start talking to them about 1848 when there was the gold rush in California. You had 300,000 people migrate to California because they believed that if they dug deep enough, they would strike gold. Right? It was literally the hot commodity. And sure enough, a lot of people did, right? And their pockets got a little deeper. But the problem is gold wasn't the right trade. You should have been investing in the picks and shovels because 300,000 people back in 1848, that moved an entire market. And so during the gold rush, you should have been investing in the picks and shovels and not in the gold. And so I use that story to translate it into, if you were to buy Tesla right now, you're buying gold. But the way you strike gold is investing in the picks and shovels, which would be lithium, because it is a light, highly reactive metal, and it's in all batteries. So you avoid the single stock risk exposure of Tesla, right, by buying something that all of the other companies, not just Tesla, but also Tesla, are going to be putting into their EVs, their electronic vehicles, and their hybrids, right? So invest in the picks and shovels, not in the gold itself.
Yeah.
And so that was story selling. So how I'm doing that in my social media is I'm taking that same premise and I'm replicating it over and over and over. And that would be, perfect example, I keep showing videos of me renovating people's homes, right? I tell them explicitly, all of my projects are a surprise. I never consult with the client. You don't tell me what colors, you don't tell me what design you like. We talk about nothing. It's a complete surprise. So what happens is in my story selling, in my videos, you see me come in, I renovate the home, you see the whole process, so you know I'm doing it, you trust that it's me, you see the design, hopefully you like it, and then you see a happy, joyous, tear-filled client at the end of the
all
reveal.
the emotion, you get the big reveal.
Yes.
Okay.
And so what that's doing is that's educating the viewer or the consumer of my content that you can trust me, right? That I actually am doing the design and doing the work because you physically see me with the power tools doing the labor, and that the end result is probably going to be happy tears, right? And so now when I'm going to sell products, people have already kind of been story sold on what it's like to purchase something from me or work with me, right? Is that when that box arrives at their home with their new rolls of wallpaper or they're unwrapping their new Galey Alix rug, they believe that it's going to end in a positive experience because they've already seen that happen over and over and over because of the story selling.
Yeah. So you've turned your social media and you turned your show basically into a commercial for yourself and your products.
Exactly.
Tell me more about that.
I think that it was actually really hard for me to monetize my social media in the beginning. I think it was my own true insecurity and fear because I didn't want the people following me to think that I was trying to take advantage of them or I was trying to make money off of them.
Okay.
And so I had over 3 million followers pretty quickly just between Instagram and TikTok, and I still hadn't done a single ad. I hadn't monetized whatsoever. And it was because, again, I wanted people to know that I was there to be additive to them, not to try and monetize them.
People must have been approaching you for ads.
Yes.
Tell me about the kind of deals you were turning down.
So it was really important to me, especially before I ever did an ad, but even today this rings true, is that I didn't want to work with anybody that truly didn't align with my brand and what I was doing. I know that's not a novel concept,
yes.
right? Everybody's like alignment. But it was really important to me that I kept it authentic because I had worked so hard and been so precious about keeping my social media authentic to me and not running any ads. And so I remember like Raid reached out and they offered $300,000 to do an ad about killing cockroaches.
That's a pretty attractive ad.
And I was like, that's a great number, but I am the girl that in the middle of install, everybody screams like, Galey, get in here. There's a roach in the corner. And I will pick it up and put it outside because I don't want anyone on my team killing anything, right? So that could not be more against who I am. That's a horrible death, right? Being crunched to death and then thrown in a toilet.
You actually pick up the roaches?
Well, with like a piece of paper.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
nice.
I eat with my hands. I'm not doing that.
I get that.
Yeah, I'm clean. I'm hygienic.
Because you do a little Purell. You can be sponsored by Purell, yeah.
But see, like that would work because I have a little CDO, which is OCD in alphabetical order, the way it should be. So Purell would be reach out.
So you had 3 million followers and you were turning down every ad.
Yeah, I still hadn't monetized $1 off my social media.
What was the first brand partnership you did that broke that streak?
It was like destiny because it was Boll & Branch. Everybody knows them, the amazing luxury sheet company. This is another ad for them, I guess. And I'd been using them for years, and I was close friends with the CEOs. Missy and Scott. And they reached out and they said, Galey, we're opening our new store in the really high-end mall in Boca right by you. Is there any chance we could get you to do like a meet and greet and then ad so that we could run it around Christmas time? And it was during the pandemic, and I had to film the entire ad with a face mask on.
Wow, okay.
And I just remember being like, I'm a pleaser at heart, so I really wanted to please my friends and do well by them, and they were wanting to pay me. And I was excited to do it. I trusted them. I already loved their sheets, so it kind of made perfect sense. And so that was my foray into monetizing my social media.
How did the first ad go? What was the results?
Fantastic. Got millions of views, organic. We never ran ads on it. And they, even 2 years later, because it did so well, they were still around Christmas time running that ad again, which was wild because imagine seeing an ad right now of me running around a store but with a face mask on. It's like I still have a face mask on in the ad, but it still did so well that they have been running it in perpetuity, which is something I learned and now pay attention to more in my contracts.
There we go. That is funny because like no one wants to see face masks anymore. Like no one wants to think back of those days. It's
like somebody telling you about a bad breakup and you're like, I don't want to relive that. Like, let's move it forward. But yeah.
So you did your first ad with friends, Boll & Branch, and a company that you trusted.
Yeah.
Where'd it go from there? You kind of like broke the seal, and then you were open for business.
And then
what did your brand look like?
The floodgates opened.
Yes, tell me how that works.
And my agents at WME were very good about directing me and making sure that I didn't just say yes to everything. There were even things that I thought would be on brand, and they're like, it's not enough money, and you don't have complete control and autonomy over producing it, and they have all these guardrails on you, and like you're creative. Like my boss at Goldman always said, bald eagles should never be caged. They're meant to fly. And I kind of feel like that happens to me a lot, where when somebody tries to cage me, and people who love me are like, you're too creative for that, like break out.
You're the bald eagle.
I am.
Okay, I like that.
I mean, I got some hair, but
Yes.
yeah. So I really started to monetize, and then I got my biggest deal, which was kind of I would say like my aha moment of like, oh shoot, like I can really do this, and like I really like this. And I know you're about to ask me what that was.
I would say, Galey, what was your biggest deal?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So Home Depot reached out, and ironically, Lowe's is somebody who I had previously reached out a couple of times, and I just never go to Lowe's. It's not by my house. Nothing against the brand, but I was raised on Home Depot, and so I bleed orange.
Okay.
And so when they reached out, they wanted me to do an actual commercial, not just some Instagram ad, right? And the moment that I felt like, oh, this is a whole different ballgame, was they asked me to also be the producer of the commercial because they trusted my content creativity and my eye. And so when it was time to shoot the commercial, the craft services was nicer than any wedding I've ever seen. A semi pulled up, and they had all of these toilets that were air conditioned inside the semi with like cloth napkins. And I'm sitting behind the director's chair under this big tent producing the commercial that I then run around the camera, and I'm now the only one in the commercial acting it out and doing all the things. And then I'd run back, I'd watch the tape, and then I'd go back, and I was thinking like, this is beyond anything I could have ever imagined for my life. Because 2 days ago, I was sitting in a boardroom in a high-rise in Miami talking about European interest rates and how it's going to affect international small caps and the IFA, right? Like I was doing that at the same time. I kept my Goldman job all the way up until a year ago. So I've been balancing both of these worlds. But when I got that Home Depot commercial, I was like, I think it's time to let go of both vines and just go with one and swing.
Tell me about how the mindset shift and how you went from producing with your phone to suddenly you're producing on set for Home Depot with all the Hollywood cameras, all the craft services, all the trailers. Was that a lot of pressure for you, or did you kind of treat it as just same game, just more toys?
I think that when you are doing what you're meant to be doing, you're at your highest vibration, and it's almost a euphoric feeling. Sure, I was nervous. I'm nervous before this because anything that I care about doing a good job, I'm going to be nervous about. It's part of what I think makes me step up and do well, right? So I was very nervous, but I was so excited. I mean, I could not go to sleep the night before. And I did approach it the same way as I do my social media because I'm always trying to up my creativity game on every post, every story, every edit. And I edit all my content. I'm the only editor of all of I edited my TV show. So I love editing and story selling, right? And so I was like, okay, I just have to story sell for Home Depot. It's no different than me story selling, one of my projects or one of my products. And so, yeah, I approached it the same way, and it worked.
Yeah, a lot of creators talk to have, when they kind of go to a bigger production, they might have imposter syndrome or feel like they're not up for it. Doesn't sound like you did, but how did you get through that, if you had it at all?
So I don't know that I have imposter syndrome, and I don't think it's because I'm not humble. I mean, I'm very insecure in so many parts of my life, especially in dating. But when it comes to business and work, I don't think I have imposter syndrome because I have seen all of the hours, all of the hustle, all of the decisions, all of the pain that I have overcome and then fought back to win a deal and turn it around in the 11th hour. I have watched myself do that over and over and over again. And so I don't think there's even space for me to question if I deserve to be here because I've seen the work. I put in the work.
I love it. Let's go back to Wall Street. You were in Goldman Sachs before. I was also I'm a Wall Street.
Yeah,
I'm a recovering Wall Street person myself. And it's rare that we go to creative fields, but it's great when it happens.
Yeah.
Tell me about where you grew up and how you got into finance.
So I grew up in Gainesville, Florida, a little college town, and I ran track for University of Florida.
Oh, wow. What'd you run?
So I'm a little white girl. So I did long distance.
Okay.
And
Like cross country?
Yeah, so I did cross country, and then in indoor and outdoor tracks, so technically it was 3 seasons, I did the 2-mile. So basically, growing up in Gainesville.
What's your fastest mile time?
I broke 5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You're
And I did it on my period. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yep.
You got the details.
Did I just throw you off a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. I'm a little
you're
thrown off
welcome
there.
for
Yeah.
that. It keeps it interesting. This is how
boring.
you engage people.
Never
right?
boring. Never boring.
You got to keep them guessing.
Do you still run?
I do.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you were at Gainesville.
I was at Gainesville.
University of Florida,
really,
Gators.
Yeah, really competitive.
Okay.
I've always been I would say uncomfortably competitive with myself more than anybody else, which is part of the plight of perfectionism. That's really also been hard for me. But I worked really, really hard, and I thought I wanted to be a doctor. My 3 siblings are doctors. My parents are medical. And then I had a boyfriend whose mother had a really nice Mercedes. And I asked her what she did, and she was a portfolio manager at Franklin Templeton. And I thought, okay, so that's what I'm going to do.
So the car got you. The car changed.
So I started at Franklin Templeton in a cubicle, with a head. I'd leave work every day, and I'd have a crease in my hair from my headset and like a hoarse throat, because I'm just cold calling people all day long. And there was a room, I would say there were about 80 of us in the cubicles cold calling on headsets, and only 2 of us were women.
So that's hustle. That's like, so you told me before, you were a PR major and German major.
Yeah.
But you were doing kind of cold called sales, where the whole idea is like big personality, persuading people, and it sounded like that was great education for this.
Yeah, it was, right? You have to learn how to talk. Words are important. They help you story sell. And there's a lot of creativity that goes into writing articles, and as you know, broadcasting and media. But what ended up happening is I got really good at talking to people on the phone, and then story selling my way into getting them to buy a mutual fund from me. And I remember when you get off the elevator every morning, they had a whiteboard right there, and they would have the top VACs, which is value-added contacts, the top dials, the top minutes spent on the phone, the top funds closed, and they would have a list of like 8 metrics that you needed to hit. And I remember every time I got off that elevator for the next year and a half, it said Galey Gravenstein on every single metric.
So you're like a leaderboard person. You like the gamification, and you're super competitive.
It's part of perfectionism, right? Is you're results oriented.
Yes.
Which is awful, because if you're results oriented because you want everything to be perfect and you want to always be perfect, it also means that you're kind of missing the plot of life, right? Which is that the experience and the beauty is in the process of getting there. Like, think about you interview a lot of billionaires, right? You meet some of the most successful people. What I have found in finding people who have made it to the end, meaning they've had a successful exit from a company, is that they are not the happiest people I know. No different than an NBA player, right? I've dated some professional athletes. Once their career is over, which usually ends really young.
Really young, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You would think like, well, you won a Super Bowl, right? Or you won the NBA championship. You got a Stanley Cup, right? You should be like your happiest ever. But because of their age, right after winning, they retired. And now they're the most depressed they have ever been. And you're like, but you won it all. You got to the end, right? And you did it so early. But that's one of the worst things that can happen to you, because I think in life, humans are not designed to thrive. They're designed to strive.
Yeah.
We do best when we have a goal and we're working towards something, and we get to hustle every day, and not once we've actually reached it. So what I hope is that I never actually reach my goal, so that I get to keep working towards it forever.
That's really smart. Yeah, because like athletes, they peak early, and then you're done. You're 30.
Yeah.
And even if you win the championship, you wake up the next day and everyone's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And it's tricky when you can't get back on that field. And you mentioned with billionaires, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and unicorn companies, like the happiest ones are the ones that they're like accidentally rich. Like they're not like, oh, I want to be on the Forbes list. Like I want to be a billionaire someday. Like the idea is like, I'm solving a problem, take each day at a time. Like I love my team, love my business. And then by doing that, you hit your mark. Almost like, instead of saying like, oh, my goal is to run under 5-minute mile, your goal is like, no, my goal is to run for an hour every day. And if you do that and enjoy it, you hit that mark. So that's very smart. So you wanted to you got into Wall Street. Wait, quick, I want you to sell me. All right, call me up.
Okay.
I'm on the phone. Sell me on a mutual fund.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Hey, who's this?
This is Galey, your favorite wholesaler at Goldman.
What's going on? What are you bothering me about today?
I am not bothering you. I'm actually about to add so much value to you because I can't give it. I'm still a registered advisor. I cannot give financial advice right now.
Then you can why don't you sell me on a fake stock?
But I don't want to do that because I'm still a licensed fiduciary. So I don't want people to hear this and then be like, oh, I need to go buy lithium. That's an old trade. Right. By the way, full disclosure, don't go buy lithium right now.
This is for
right?
This is for entertainment purposes only.
I'm very trained not to give any financial advice.
It's like on CNBC, like Jim Cramer, like this is for entertainment only. Like
yes.
we do not recommend.
We do not recommend or condone. This is not my financial.
But what was the thing? Like, everyone's like, you want to.
It's
like greed and fear and FOMO, right? You want to elicit greed and fear, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you scare some, like fear-based selling is a very real thing, right? It's one thing if you are kind of benefit selling, right? Well, these are all the things that could happen to you. That does not work as well as these are the things that won't happen for you if you don't do this, or this really bad thing will happen if you do this, right? Fear-based selling really works. But I think that, I was building long-term relationships, and I think that's kind of short-term greedy to be fear-based selling. You need to be long-term greedy and think about the end game. So I was always very upfront and honest and never fear-based selling.
Wow. So you went to Goldman Sachs. Now talk to me about how you got into DIY in social media world. Because you're very busy at Goldman. You're working your butt off.
Yeah.
How do you start building this? Like I heard it was almost accidental, talking about accidents.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it accident, you can call it luck. I do think luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Yep. And I kind of had the opportunity, and I think I was more prepared than I realized, and it did kind of happen, luckily. But I went through some really dark times to get there. So basically, I was working at Goldman in Florida, and I was in New York speaking at a conference, and I met somebody who I thought was going to be the love of my life. He was a tech CEO. And we fell madly in love, dated for a couple years, and then bought our dream home in Westport, Connecticut.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, can I just work one more year? I'm not ready to just be somebody's wife and move away from my family in Florida. And he was like, of course, of course. So I commuted every single weekend up to this home. And because I'm a control freak, I couldn't trust some designer or day laborer I didn't know to work on the home without me with my two eyes on them, right? I need to see all the work. And I'd never done that work, ever. The most I'd done was like a home goods run on the weekend, right, for my house in Florida.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you like grow up handy, but apparently not?
No.
Okay.
No. And so I was like, well, I can't get anyone to work on the weekends on the house, and I can only be here on the weekends because of my Goldman job. So I guess I'm just going to roll up my sleeves and do it myself. And so I just started doing it. And I did a almost 10,000 square foot home by myself. I mean, I was doing everything, and I was filming it all because I've loved editing since high school. I've kind of been like a closet videographer.
Okay.
And so I videoed it all, and I would share it on my Instagram to my 700 friends and family, right? And I would surprise my fiance with different rooms that I was doing for him. And he would come in, and I would have the video going, and he would open his eyes and, oh my gosh, and everybody loved it. And then right before our wedding, he left me unexpectedly. And
that must have been very tough.
It was, and I think it was especially difficult because of the reason, which was that I had opened up about having an eating disorder. I think the perfectionism and the struggle and the hustle of Goldman and flying back and forth every weekend and not having any downtime and trying to be perfect for my fiance because I thought that was the only way I'd be lovable, right? It came out in me controlling food because I felt out of control in my life. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to get married with a secret. So I opened up about that, and I had to leave the home that same day. And basically, I had just a week before resigned from Goldman to move to Connecticut forever because it was right after I finished the home. So what happens is I land in Florida. I don't have my health. I don't have my job. I don't have my fiance. And I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage now because I had a nice house thinking I was fine with my Goldman salary. And then I was moving to Connecticut. So I literally felt like everything got stripped from me in 1 second. And so I got off social media. I left it running. My Instagram was still on my social media, but I deleted the app from my phone. And I checked into therapy, and I saw specialists who specialized in eating disorders and nutritionists. And a couple months later, when I felt strong enough to get back on and deal with the 700 friends and family who were going to be like, where are the wedding photos? Where are the honeymoon photos? What happened? I thought I was ready to handle that. And I very cautiously, I was sitting in my garage. I got home from therapy. I was sitting in my garage. And I remember opening up my phone, and I was like, I just need to rip the Band-Aid off. I feel empowered and like healthy after that session. I can do this. And I log in, and all of a sudden, every icon at the top is 100 out. It's 100 likes, 100 follows, 100 messages, because it can't go past 100, right? And I'm like, wait. And then I pull up, and I have hundreds of thousands of followers, and I'm like, I'm in a celebrity's account? How did I log in? I must have somehow logged into somebody famous's account because I have 700 followers. And I realized that the videos I had made in Connecticut of me surprising him and renovating that house had gone viral. And it was literally like somebody was saying like, hey, Galey, like you went through a hard time. You're doing the right thing. You're in therapy. You're taking care of yourself. Like, I'm going to show you kind of a path forward here. And it was the next day I actually was able, I fought, and even though they'd never rescinded a resignation at Goldman, they told me they took me back because I closed $5 billion and I did okay, right? And so they took me back, and they embraced me. They didn't hold it against me that I left. And I also was honest about my mental health issue, and they were like, what resources can we give you? They were wonderful. Wonderful. And so, yeah, I started going through the messages. I could not find a single message from anybody I know. Not one. In fact, it was like, hey, I'm in Australia. I see what you did in your garage. Can I fly you out here? Hey, I'm in Ohio. Hey, I'm in Mexico City. Could you do like a remote consult with me? And I'm going, what? I'm not a designer. And so then I was like, you know what? I got my Goldman job back. So on the weekends, I'm just going to say yes to total strangers. And because I don't know how to communicate or consult like a normal designer, I'm just going to move into your house. You're going to go to Disney World with your kids for the weekend, and I'm going to renovate it. So the very first video I did, I moved into the Callaway's house, which is like an hour from mine up in Boynton Beach. They took their 2 kids to Disney World. And I spent 3 days with my 2 dogs in their house renovating their whole home. And when they got back, their son fainted in the reveal video because he could not believe that was his house. I did not sleep for 3 days to get that done. And I posted the video, and it got 30 million views, my first video. And it's just been kind of all in ever since.
That's incredible. I want to go back. So you were off social media. You hit a low in your life. You were in therapy. And while you were on that social media break, you kind of unknowingly built your brand.
Literally. So when I say it was true luck, I mean, it was preparation, meeting up. I was prepared because I had done a lot of editing in my life, and I knew how to story sell, right, from my time at Goldman. I didn't even know, I think I was just story selling my life, right, and what I was creating for my fiance and I. Probably trying to story sell him a little bit too, honestly, that I'm worthy of marrying, which I ended up not being to him. And then the opportunity is that, social media was growing. This is pre-pandemic, so this is before people were really focused on, I'm stuck at home, how do I make my house nice? Yep. And they were into home design videos. And then, a year later, I had a TV show on HBO, and now I have a book, and it's just taken off.
Yeah, tell me, so you were back at Goldman Sachs, and I'm sure you're working 60-hour weeks. And then you decide to, my worst nightmare of spending all weekend, pulling all-nighters and, just hustling on that. Tell me how'd you do that? How were you able to work a full-time job and then do another full-time job, a week's worth of work, it's not a month's worth of work in 3 days?
I've always struggled with, I feel like, have you ever noticed your phone starts to not work as well when every single app is open and running.
Yeah.
I've always felt like I really struggle because I am absorbing a lot of things at once. I think that's why I'm able to design homes without even talking to the client, because I'm absorbing who they are, what I'm seeing, and then I'm putting it all together to literally make the dream home they didn't even know they needed, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really intuitive, and so I'm absorbing a lot all the time. And the problem with that is that when you are a perfectionist like I am, I need an outlet to get all that energy out. So my way of actually finding health again and feeling calm was to be hyper active.
Okay.
And so pulling those all-nighters and being around my team and a bunch of people doing something for somebody else, because I never charged anybody. I mean, all the work was for free. I just wanted to, I guess, add value and maybe prove my worth in some way. Same reason I didn't run ads on my social for so long is I wanted to prove I was there for the right reason. And so I did that over and over and over, and I just felt myself getting healthier and healthier, because instead of picking myself apart and picking my life apart and that somebody didn't want me, it was so much easier to put all that onto a house and pick it apart and make it better. And so it was actually an outlet as opposed to this like exhausting thing.
It's like my worst nightmare. Like I work all week. I hate doing homework and I hate doing work on my home. My wife can attest. And like all those like Home Depot and Lowe's commercials where they have like the football game and the people are like up there painting and like getting their weekend started.
Yeah.
Like that's my worst nightmare. But it was therapy for you. That's amazing. Tell me how you went from, you're still at Goldman Sachs, you have millions of followers, you're working all weekend, and then suddenly HBO approaches you to start a show. Tell me about that.
Well, my first thought was, holy hell, how am I going to get this approved at Goldman?
Yes.
Right? Because compliance is breathing down your neck. Every email I sent, I had anxiety because all I could say is, yes, the meeting sounds great, and I know somebody's going to read it, right? Yeah. I know we've had people in the past at Goldman who have tried to be on TV shows, and nobody has gotten the approval. And I was able to meet with our CEO and get approval. And I was like, look, if you're DJing on the weekends in the Hamptons,
I was going to say DJ Solomon has some creative outlets.
DJ Saul, I'm making dreams happen here.
Yeah.
And he was so wonderful and so cool. And within like 5 minutes, I had a voicemail meeting with him. I had a voicemail from HR saying that I was approved to do a TV show.
Okay.
So I was the only one that's been able to, which is such a blessing. And so, yeah, I will say, producing that show while also being like the day laborer, the designer, the contractor, the host, I was really tired. And so when the show finally aired, I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to spread my eagle wings and fly.
Yeah, because you had the show. You're working Goldman Sachs. You had the show on HBO, and then you canceled your own show.
So this is a rumor I'd like to clear up.
Okay.
So I did not cancel my show. I have been very vocal about how hard that was on myself and my team. I mean, we were watching the sunrise pretty much every day we filmed, back to back to back, in order to pull this miracle off in a couple of days, and we're less than 10 people.
Yeah.
So it was insane, right? And I have said that it was really, really difficult. And if I did it again ever, it would have to be a completely different format. But, we did not get the cable views that HGTV wanted.
Okay.
So very straightforward. So I don't think they had me do another show. But they have had me on multiple other shows. Yeah. We just needed a different format.
So, I mean, the whole premise of the show was like giving yourselves insane deadlines, insane race, insane race to the finish. 72 hours to renovate a home.
Exactly what we're still doing.
Same doing. How did you handle that? Because that would be a big job if you weren't working at Goldman Sachs the entire time. How did you juggle them both? What was like a normal week for you?
So I would say I don't have any advice to give because I would not do what I did.
Okay.
Right? I did not have an off switch. And you could see it in my eyes, especially towards the end of the season. I don't even look like myself because I am a walking zombie. I was kind of like dying with my eyes wide open is what it looked like. And so that was part of why I said, you know what, when this is done, I think whether the show does well and gets picked up or not, I need to cut one of these. And Goldman was paying my mortgage and not my soul. And I went with the one that was paying my soul, thinking that I'm going to start out at zero. I hadn't monetized yet. I have no idea what I'm going to be making. But in a few months, like, I think that I will make this move and I will try to monetize, and it's worth risking. It's worth risking it to bet on myself. So yeah, I made the change.
That's amazing. And give me like a day in the life now. I know you're doing less on camera, you're doing more branding, you're going into Home Depot. Like, what is the business of Galey Alix today? What's the brand?
I'm still doing so much on the install side. I mean, we just finished an install 2 weeks ago where we stayed up for 4 nights in a row, surprised a woman in Coral Springs, Florida with a home makeover. It was beautiful, but my bottoms of my feet are still recovering, because when you're on ladders for 4 days and scaffolding and you never sit down, I mean, your feet feel like they've been to war. So we're still doing that. But in between now, instead of selling 40 Act mutual funds, I am we have our wallpaper launching in Home Depot stores. So yesterday I was in Philly and we were figuring out how to have all the photos on the boxes that are going in the stores. And I'm trying to story sell around the box and figure out how to make it something people want to pick up and bring to the register. We have a rug line, a lighting line, a furniture line, a flooring line, a decor line, a wall art line. I mean, it's really... There is always a Zoom to be zoomed at Galey Alix Design, because we are just constantly innovating and product development, and then I'm making a lot of content.
These 4-day renovations, you do it for the sprint. Is that mostly for content? Is part of your brand?
I think that, yeah. I mean, that's not where I'm making majority of my income now, right? Like, that's because it feels really good. It's a great way to integrate my products authentically into something I'm doing. I get great content out of it. Sometimes people pay for it. So Home Depot just sponsored this last one so that we could surprise somebody with a complete makeover. She didn't have to spend a penny. And that feels really good because it's like a give back. But I will say something that's really important, because I learned this lesson the hard way, is that you can't go at 100 all the time. And something that I've learned to do, and I'm really proud of in the last, I would say, like 6 months, is I shut everything down on Sundays. So people have FOMO, right? And they want to be out doing fun stuff. I have JOMO. It's the joy of missing out. They're like, YOLO. And I'm like, no. I'm good. And it's because I need to uninstall all the apps that are running. Right? And I do that by, on Sunday, everybody close to me knows, do not text me, I will not text back. Do not call me, I will not call back. Do not leave a voicemail, it's going to annoy me. And especially don't send me a voice note. I am not going on my phone. I am not listening to a podcast. No offense.
That's fine.
I'm not listening to a podcast. I am not listening anything news related, right? Because the political atmosphere is so charged. I can't help but feel things when I'm listening to things. And I don't do anything work related. I go for a long run, and then I go for a Pilates class, then I go for a long walk with my 2 dogs, and I'm only listening to music, probably Taylor Swift. And then I am taking an everything shower, which is like, girls know, it's like shampoo, conditioner, you shave, you scrub, everything. Like, it's like you're pampering yourself, right? I think that's really important, is to like take care of you. And then I get in pajamas, and I pull a comforter over to a couch, and I do not move the couch the rest of the day. I will get the Netflix, are you still watching 4 times minimum, because that is how long I have been watching. And I do that Sunday, and it is how I reset my brain and my nervous system, I think. I mean, I think that's an introvert, right? You have to be completely isolated to recharge.
Yeah, you don't strike me as you're like an introvert extrovert.
It's hard, right? Because I'm in sales and I'm so public on social media, but I also always wear a hat, and I think there's parts of me that is more an introvert than an extrovert. I just like to create.
Galey, how'd you build your brand, and how did you stand out? Like, we have our Forbes DIY list is amazing people, and it's very competitive.
Which, by the way, you started that, right?
I did start that, yes.
And are you the one that's actually selecting people, or I'm sure you have a big team out doing all that for you?
That was mostly me. We have like a Forbes top creator list.
So that makes you a DIYer.
I'm DIY in the DIY list. And we look at a lot of data. So this is Forbes. So we're looking at users and we're looking at followers and we're also looking at engagement rate, which is super important.
Yeah.
And then we want creativity. And so we're sitting there and we build the list and then that becomes a community and it becomes an event. So it's
you
very
hand
cool.
selected me? That makes me feel so good right now.
You put up the numbers. Your numbers selected yourself. It was really good.
Well, thank you. But I'm so impressed that you actually do the list yourself.
Thank you.
That's rare.
So, but in terms of how did you build the brand? How did you stand out against everyone else out there, especially when you were literally moonlighting? You were a finance person and then you built such a great community in that space. Like, what advice do you have for people that want to build a brand?
I love this question so much. And I think it's because for any creator or creator hopeful watching this right now, if there's anything you remember from this, I hope it is that you remember what I'm about to say, which is that if you want to be successful in this space, you have to start by creating a competitive niche for yourself in whatever sector it is that you're playing in. I learned that early on at Goldman, right? And I'm sure you learned that, right, in your banking history. If you're going to invest in a company, you want to see what is their competitive niche that sets them apart from everybody else in their sector, because that's who you bet on. So you have to do that for yourself when you're starting a business. So perfect example. I said, okay, all of these people are reaching out to me and wanting me to design their homes, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know how to do it, but I do know that if I'm going to make a business out of it, I have to have a niche that just completely sets me apart. If you do the same thing as everybody else, you should expect the same results as everybody else. And I'm not in the industry of getting the same results as everybody else, right? That's why I was on that board at Franklin Templeton, right? And so I said, okay, I don't really have a bunch of beautiful techniques and design acumen to show people. I don't have any experience. I don't have a single before and after photo to show anybody. But what I am really good at is surprising people and getting it on video. Mm-hmm. So what if I create, working with hiring Galey Alix design, what if I make it an experience? And then if it's really an experience that I capture visually, then I can use that as my marketing on my social media. So have you ever met a designer that says, hey, I will do your whole home, you give me your life savings, but I'm not going to tell you a single color. We're not going to talk about the design. I'm not going to ask you what you like. You're just, in about 6 months, you're just going to move out for a weekend and you're going to come back and you're going to see what your life savings got you. Do you trust me? I mean, that's a huge risk to take, right?
Yeah, especially as someone, you said you're a self-confessed control freak.
Yes.
This, for your clients, they're the opposite.
I could never be one of my clients.
No.
Could never. Which is why I take it so seriously how much and how blindly they're trusting me, because the finance side of me sees that this is their life savings and they're giving it to me and I'm not showing them a single thing. They're not going to Pottery Barn and sitting on a couch next to me. I'm not holding up paint swatches, right? This is complete blind trust. You don't see a thing. And then you just come home and it's like your home is not your home. But I have not had one person try to change one thing in 5 years of doing this.
I was going to ask, was there ever any disasters?
No. It's literally, I could cry talking about it because it means so much to me how much people trust me, because I know how much people's homes affects them emotionally, right? Like I see people in their homes and they won't have their kids' birthday parties at their house because they're embarrassed of their home. If you're embarrassed of your home and every time your kid has a birthday party and you're, setting it up at the park or you're getting a skate station trip or something, like you're avoiding your home and having life experiences and family memories there. You're not having Christmases at your home or taking Christmas card photos in your home. You're going to a fake setup because you're not proud of where you live, right? And so I have seen the way that people falling back in love with their home because of something I've done for them. I see the way it affects their mental health, which I've been challenged with my own, right? So I appreciate that. I see how it changes their life, their family dynamic, how they feel about where they are. If you love your home, you love your life just a little bit more. That's a fact. And so it's really such an honor to me that people trust me with that, and I take it very seriously, and I think that comes through on my social media, which is why, we average about 10,000 requests a week for me to do design work.
Out of all your projects, and these are all meaningful projects, is there one that stands out? Do you have a favorite one you've done?
It's always my most recent. That's always the background photo on my phone. I will say that every single project is important to me because I only pick the projects where I believe that that person is a truly good person and they deserve this.
Out of all the projects, is there one family or one person that really stands out for you?
I would say the very first family because they trusted me. They required the Callaways. They required more trust than anybody else who came after them because they had no idea what I was doing. And every person that they told, yeah, so this girl on Instagram, she's going to move in. And they're like, well, what is she like? What rooms? We don't know what rooms she's doing. But like, what, have you talked about what style or like what you like? And they're like, no, and they called them crazy. To this day, those friends are still writing them, begging her to introduce me to them so that I can do the same thing for them. So it means the most to me, I think, because they took the most like trust and faith in me blindly.
Wow, this is amazing stuff. I have one more final question.
Yeah.
If you can go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice before you started social media and building this brand, what would be that advice to yourself?
Galey, you are not going to be successful because you're hard on yourself. You're going to be successful despite being hard on yourself. So you might as well be a little nicer.
And give me that, like, what does that mean in real life? What does that mean in
That means
tactically?
that I have always, we talked about fear-based selling earlier. I think I've been doing that, like gaslighting myself with fear-based selling my whole life. Galey, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. If you don't do this, then he's not going to like you. If you're not enough, then you're not going to be enough. If you don't do it, just very negative self-talk, right? That I used to motivate me, right? I fear-based sold myself into being hyper productive, right? I got biggest overachiever was my high school superlative because this has been me my whole life, right? Fear-based selling me into executing on things. And the older version of me now looks back and it's like, girl, you can calm down. Like you're doing that not because you're scaring yourself into it, because you have a really good work ethic and you're talented and you just need to like be your biggest cheerleader instead of your biggest critic. And I think I would have had a more peaceful mindset and maybe not gone down some of the mental health paths that I had if I had had that mindset longer.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. Galey, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was such an honor.